Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to speak to the dreamers today, the ones who've been carrying a vision deep in their spirit, the ones who have prayed, cried, fasted, and believed. I want to speak to the people who have big faith, but are still waiting for something to happen. There's a dangerous misconception in our generation that faith is just believing, that all you have to do is trust God and somehow everything will fall into place. But let me tell you, faith was never meant to sit still. Faith is not lazy. Faith is not passive. Faith is not a wish. Faith is a force. It is active. It is aggressive. It plans. It prepares. It moves. You see, a vision from God demands more than just excitement. It demands execution. We often quote faith without works is dead as a slogan, but many never let that truth take root in their lives. That scripture isn't a suggestion, it's a warning. You can have the right heart, the right intention, and even the right revelation, but if there's no plan, no strategy, and no action, your faith remains buried, full of potential, but producing nothing. So today we're going to uncover the powerful truth that's been missing from too many pulpits and too many prayer closets. Faith demands a plan, and not just any plan, a God-centered, purpose-driven, disciplined plan. Because when you combine divine vision with earthly strategy, miracles happen. Let's go deep, let's get real, and let's position ourselves, not just to dream, but to build what we've been believing for. Many people confuse faith with wishful thinking. They believe that if they just hope hard enough, things will somehow fall into place. But true faith is never passive. It is always active. Faith, in its purest form, demands preparation. It demands planning, because you cannot claim to believe in something you're not willing to prepare for. Let me ask you something. Would you hire a builder who tells you, "I have faith the house will build itself"? Of course not. That would be absurd. Yet, that's exactly how many people live their lives. They have dreams, but no blueprints. They have vision, but no strategy. They speak of greatness, but have not taken one step toward making it real. That is not faith. That is fantasy. The Bible tells us faith without works is dead. That word works isn't just about deeds. It's about the structure, the effort, the planning that supports your belief. You can believe for a job, but if you don't update your resume, if you don't learn the skills, if you don't apply, your faith has no body to live in. It becomes a ghost of what it could have been. Look at Noah. He didn't just believe the flood would come, he built an ark. He had to gather materials, design blueprints, recruit help, and work for years, day after day, even when others mocked him. His faith was made visible through his plan and preparation. Faith is never abstract. It always takes on form through action. There's a powerful story I once heard of a young woman who dreamed of becoming a doctor. She had faith, but she was poor. No money for school, no connections. She could have just prayed and hoped, but she did more. She mapped out a plan. She found scholarships. She studied hard. She worked 2 jobs. And today, she's not just a doctor, she's running her own clinic in a community that once said she'd never make it. That's what faith with a plan looks like. It's not about waiting for doors to open. It's about building the door. Now ask yourself, what are you believing for right now? A better job, a business, a relationship, a ministry? Have you written down a plan? Have you outlined the steps? Because until your faith meets structure, you are only hoping, not believing. Preparation is proof of expectation. A farmer doesn't plant a field without expecting a harvest. But notice, before the seed, he prepares the soil. He doesn't just throw seeds on the ground and hope. He tills it, waters it, clears the weeds. Why? Because that preparation is a sign of his faith in the outcome. Some people say, "I'm waiting on God," but often God is waiting on us to move in faith. Not just emotionally, but strategically. You see, God respects a prepared vessel. He blesses what is structured. Even Jesus said, "Who builds a tower without first sitting down to calculate the cost?" Why? Because a plan honors the weight of the vision. A plan says, I take this calling seriously. This is not about being perfect. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about starting with what you have. Faith doesn't demand a finished plan, it demands a start. You may not know step 10, but you can take step 1. You can write the vision, you can count the cost, you can gather the tools, because when you move with faith, heaven moves with you. So don't just dream, don't just pray, don't just hope, plan, organize, prepare. That's when faith becomes real. That's when it becomes visible. That's when it starts to produce results. Remember this, faith is not the absence of planning, it is the engine behind it. Faith is deeply tied to vision. Every person of faith carries within them a picture of something greater, a preferred future, a calling, a divine assignment. But here's the truth that most overlook. A vision without a strategy is nothing more than a dream, and dreams without discipline and direction die in the valley of good intentions. Faith births vision, but strategy births manifestation. You can have a vision to build schools in underdeveloped nations, to transform broken communities, or to launch a business that changes lives. But until you sit down and begin mapping out the how, that vision is trapped in your heart, never breaking into reality. Faith gives you the why, but you must create the how. In the book of Nehemiah, we see a powerful example of vision and strategy working hand in hand. Nehemiah had a burden, a deep faith-filled vision to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But what did he do? He didn't just cry and pray. He created a plan. He assessed the damage. He gathered resources. He assigned workers to different sections of the wall. He even organized guards to protect the builders from opposition. His faith moved him, but his strategy sustained him. Many people today get stuck because they have vision with no roadmap. They know what they want, but they don't know how to get there. And worse, they don't take the time to find out. They think having vision is enough. But a vision without execution is like a car without wheels. It looks good, but it's going nowhere. Let me share a story with you. A young man once came to a mentor and said, "I believe I'm called to change the world." The mentor asked him how. The young man paused. "I don't know. I just believe I am." The mentor smiled and said, "Faith gives you the wings to fly, but strategy builds the plane." Don't miss that. Faith elevates, but strategy carries. Here's a practical truth. If your vision is real, it deserves a written plan. Break it down. Start with the big picture and work backward. Ask the hard questions. What resources will I need? Who do I need to connect with? What will it cost me? What do I need to learn? What's my first step? These are not questions of doubt. These are the questions of a leader, a builder, a person of mature faith. You see, faith doesn't run from strategy. It embraces it. God is a God of order. The creation of the world followed a step-by-step sequence. Day by day, one element prepared the environment for the next. Light before plants, plants before animals, animals before humans, and humans before purpose. That wasn't random. That was divine strategy. So if God operates in strategy, how can we claim to walk by faith but ignore structure? Some people say, "I'll just trust the process." But let me tell you, trust requires a process to exist in the first place. Trusting in a plan is not doubting God. It's honoring him. It's saying, "Lord, I believe so much in what you showed me. I'm going to steward it with intention. I won't leave it to chance. I'll build what you gave me." Strategy is the skeleton of faith. Without it, your vision is shapeless. You might feel excited and inspired, but inspiration without instruction leads to frustration. That's why so many people give up on their dreams. They had the fire, but no framework. Here's a data-backed truth. According to a study from Dominican University, people who write down their goals and create action plans are 42% more likely to achieve them. That's not just motivation, that's application. That's what happens when faith meets structure. In your journey of faith, don't just wait for things to happen, make things happen. Start small if you must. Plan with what you have, adjust as you grow, but never let your vision float aimlessly in the clouds. Bring it down to the ground with a clear, practical strategy. Faith sees the end. Strategy walks the journey. Together, they turn the invisible into the undeniable. It's easy to believe for miracles. It's harder to manage what you've already been given. But here's a kingdom principle many overlook. God doesn't multiply mismanagement. He doesn't bless disorder. He blesses stewardship. Faith is not just believing for increase, it's demonstrating you can handle it when it comes. People cry out, "Lord, send the harvest." But heaven responds, "Have you prepared the storehouse?" Miracles are often waiting on management. Think about the feeding of the 5,000. Jesus didn't just wave his hand and produce bread and fish out of thin air. What did he do? He told the disciples, sit the people down in groups. He created order. He organized the crowd. Then he broke the bread, blessed it, and distributed it through the disciples. Why? Because even divine provision requires human participation and logistical planning. You might be praying for a financial breakthrough, but how are you managing the money you already have? Are you budgeting? Are you tithing? Are you planning? Because faith doesn't mean ignoring the practical. It means aligning your natural actions with a supernatural expectation. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine someone praying for a business opportunity. They declare, God will open the door. But when the opportunity arrives, they're not ready. No business plan, no research, no product clarity. It's not a lack of opportunity, it's a lack of preparation. And the opportunity that was meant to elevate them ends up overwhelming them. You see, faith without management creates chaos. Faith with management creates momentum. Here's a powerful story. A young woman had a dream of opening a bakery. She prayed over it daily, but instead of just waiting for funds, she started baking from her home. She kept detailed notes, how much flour she needed, how many hours each batch took, how customers responded. She tracked sales, adjusted recipes, built a customer list. One day, an investor tasted her cupcakes and asked, "Can you handle large orders?" Without hesitation, she pulled out a folder with her cost analysis, vendor contacts, and 5-year plan. That investor wrote her a check on the spot. That wasn't luck. That was faith in motion, faith backed by management. Management is not about control. It's about stewardship. It's the proof that you're ready for more. Think about it. If your child doesn't take care of the bicycle you gave them, would you trust them with a car? Of course not. Why? Because reward is based on responsibility. In the same way, God looks at how we handle the little. Luke 16:10 says, "He who is faithful in little will be faithful in much." That means your ability to manage the small things is the audition for your next level. You're praying for abundance? Start managing your current seasons like it's already full. Some people say, "I don't have much to manage." But everyone has something. Time, energy, relationships, skills, your calendar, your daily habits, your thought life. If you're sloppy with these, why would God entrust you with more? Faith that produces fruit is faith that plans and organizes even the smallest resources. Even Jesus, who could have performed miracles every day, lived with intentionality. He had a rhythm. He prioritized solitude, prayer, rest, and focus. That's management. That's wisdom. That's the model. Now, here's a question to reflect on. If God blessed you with what you're praying for today, would your life be able to carry it? Could you manage it? Or would it collapse under the weight of the blessing? This is why planning matters. This is why structure is not optional. It's essential. God is not just looking for people who believe in miracles. He's looking for people who can manage them. Because miracles are not magic. They are moments, and those moments belong to the faithful, the focused, and the prepared. Faith without management is waste. Faith with management is growth. So many people live in the realm of imagination. They dream of a better life. They fantasize about success. They envision a future filled with purpose and prosperity. But the truth is, God doesn't bless what you imagine. He blesses what you build. Faith is not a fantasy. It's a force. And that force needs direction. Let's be real. Your life doesn't change just because you want it to. It changes because you work it. You build it. You step out and apply your faith with your hands, not just your heart. You can spend years dreaming about writing a book, launching a business, starting a ministry, or building a marriage. But until you begin construction, your dream remains just that, a dream. In Genesis, when God created the world, he didn't just say, "Let there be a nice place to live." No, he spoke with intention. He created systems. He structured light and darkness, sea and land, seed and harvest. Then he placed man in the garden and told him to work it and keep it as a blueprint for us. God forms it, but he expects us to function within it. Think about this. Have you ever heard someone say, I had that same idea years ago? The difference between that person and the one who made it real is simple. One imagined it, the other built it. Let me give you a real-world example. A man in his late 20s had an idea for an app that would help freelancers find short-term gigs. He talked about it often. He even prayed about it. But he never wrote the business plan. He never took a coding course. He never reached out for help. 5 years later, another company launched that same concept and turned it into a billion-dollar platform. Was he lacking faith? No. He had faith, but he lacked follow-through. God doesn't fund fantasies. He funds frameworks. And that's the issue with many believers. They confuse desire with destiny. Just because God gave you a glimpse doesn't mean he'll drop it in your lap. He gave you a seed, not a tree. You must plant, water, prune, and cultivate. That's the work of a builder. The Israelites had faith for the promised land, but they still had to march around Jericho. They still had to cross the Jordan. They still had to fight battles. Why? Because God's promises require participation. He gives the land, but you must possess it. There's a story about a woman who wanted to open a woman's shelter. She prayed, fasted, and believed. But then she did something others didn't. She took action. She volunteered at shelters to learn. She met with city officials. She studied nonprofit management. She built partnerships. And eventually, she opened a place that now houses over 100 women every year. She didn't just imagine it. She built it. You can't manifest what you refuse to manage, and you can't manage what you never start building. Let me speak to the person who says, but I don't have all the resources. You don't need everything to start. You just need to start. A blueprint doesn't require a full budget to be drafted. Write the plan, sketch the vision. Begin with what's in your hand. Moses didn't part the sea with an army, he did it with a staff. God has a habit of breathing on what we build, but we must give him something to breathe on. A business plan, a proposal, a journal, a calendar, a resume, something tangible, something that shows God, I'm not just imagining, I'm preparing. You don't pray for a table and expect it to fall from the sky. God gives you a tree. You must cut, shape, carve, and assemble it. That's building. That's faith with action. So the question today is simple. What are you building? Because until you move from imagination to implementation, your vision will stay locked in the realm of possibility, never stepping into reality. The earth is not waiting on your dreams, it's waiting on your decisions. Faith doesn't stop at belief, it builds. Faith is not passive, faith is movement. Faith is preparation. If you truly believe that God is going to do something in your life, then the way you plan should reflect that belief. Planning is the evidence of expectation. It's one thing to say, I believe God will bless me. It's another to start arranging your life like the blessing is already on its way. That's faith in action. That's the kind of faith that heaven responds to. If you're expecting rain, you bring an umbrella. If you believe your season is changing, you start preparing for the next one. If you're trusting God for increase, you build systems that can handle the growth before it arrives. Let me take you back to the story of Noah. God told Noah that a flood was coming and that he needed to build an ark. Now remember, Noah had never seen rain before. The concept was foreign. But he didn't argue, he didn't delay, he planned, he measured, he gathered materials, he followed instructions down to the last cubit. That ark wasn't just a boat, it was proof that he believed what God said. Here's the principle. Real faith builds arks in dry places. Many people are waiting for God to move before they move. But in the kingdom, movement attracts miracles. Preparation invites provision. If you're not planning, you're not expecting. And if you're not expecting, maybe you don't believe as deeply as you claim. Let me give you a practical example. A woman had been praying for years to get married. She wanted a godly relationship, someone to build with. But one day she was convicted. She wasn't preparing herself to be a wife. She was hoping for a husband, but living like she had no vision. So she made a decision. She started reading books on marriage, worked on her emotional health, started cooking healthy meals. even created a monthly budget she could one day merge into a shared household. She didn't know when her husband would come, but she lived like she was already being prepared to meet him. 3 years later, she married a man who said, "The thing that drew me to you was that you were already living like the woman I had been praying for." You see, preparation is magnetic. It draws opportunities, it attracts the right people, it places you in alignment with what you've been believing for. So ask yourself, what am I doing now that proves I believe God is about to move? You say you're believing for a new job. Have you updated your resume? Are you applying to positions? Are you learning new skills? You say you're trusting for financial increase. Have you opened a savings account? Are you studying money management? Are you planning to tithe and give generously? You say you're ready for ministry. Are you building your character? Are you studying the Word? Are you practicing humility and service? The way you plan is a mirror of what you believe. You don't prepare for something you don't expect. And if you truly expect God to bless your life, you won't wait until the blessing shows up to get ready. You'll already be standing at the door, dressed, packed, and prepared, because faith lives ready. One of the most powerful verses in Scripture is Habakkuk 2:02. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. That's planning. That's clarity. That's preparation. It doesn't say dream the vision, it says write it. Lay it out, make it actionable. Because clarity precedes movement. God does not respond to confusion, he responds to faith. And faith shows itself through order, through strategy, through preparation. Let me say this to you clearly. You don't plan because you're unsure. You plan because you're certain. You're not being cautious, you're being faithful. You're saying, God, I don't see it yet, but I'm clearing space for it. I'm getting the room ready. I'm setting the table. Planning is how faith sets the table for God's arrival. There's a powerful truth echoed throughout Scripture and life. God doesn't use the most talented, he uses the most prepared. You can be anointed and still miss opportunities if you are not prepared. You can be called and still disqualified in critical moments because you never got ready. Anointing without preparation leads to frustration. Vision without structure leads to stagnation. But when you prepare the vessel, God pours into it. Let's go to 2 Kings 4, the story of the widow and the prophet Elisha. The widow cried out for help. She had debts, and her sons were about to be taken as slaves. Elisha asked her, "What do you have in your house?" She said, "Only a little oil." He then told her to borrow as many empty jars as she could find, and not a few. When she had gathered the jars, she began pouring, and the oil multiplied. But here's the key. The oil stopped flowing when the last jar was filled. The miracle was directly tied to her preparation. If she had gathered only 3 jars, she would have received only 3 jars of oil. If she had borrowed 20, she would have received 20. Her level of expectation, revealed through her preparation, determined the size of her breakthrough. This isn't just a Bible story, it's a principle. Heaven responds to vessels. God looks for containers. He looks for people who've cleared space, made room, written the plan, created the system, sharpened the gift. He doesn't waste oil. He only fills what's ready. You may be praying, "God, use me," but have you been preparing the vessel? Or are you still waiting for everything to be perfect before you begin? Let's get practical. Say you're praying to be a speaker or leader. Are you practicing your communication? Are you studying the art of influence? Are you learning how to lead people with grace and discipline? Or are you hoping one invitation will change your life overnight? You don't rise to the level of your calling, you rise to the level of your preparation. Here's a powerful real-life story. A young man felt called to become a motivational speaker. For 5 years, he never got a stage, no mic, no big platform. But every day he woke up and wrote speeches, he practiced in front of the mirror, he volunteered at youth centers, he studied great communicators. Then one day a speaker canceled at a national conference and he was asked to fill in. He was ready. He didn't say, "Give me a week to prepare." No, he had a message in his pocket and fire in his heart. He gave that speech, and from there, doors began to fly open. God didn't prepare the opportunity for him. He prepared him for the opportunity. Sometimes we're asking God to bless something we're not even ready to carry. It's like asking for rain without digging a ditch to hold the water. Or praying for a promotion but refusing to grow in discipline and emotional intelligence. It's like asking for a baby but not creating a nursery. Preparation is not a waste of time. It's the investment of faith. It's how you tell God, I'm serious. It's how you communicate to heaven, I trust you enough to get ready before I see the evidence. Think of David. He didn't become a giant slayer the day he fought Goliath. He was already trained in the fields, killing lions and bears, learning strategy and precision with a sling. The public saw the moment, but God saw the preparation. That sling wasn't random. It was refined. So the question is, are you refining your gift, or are you waiting for recognition before you do the work? God is looking for ready vessels, not perfect vessels, just available and prepared. When God is ready to move, he doesn't search for the most gifted. He looks for the most prepared, because preparation is a sign of honor. It says, God, I honor what you're about to do, and I'm getting everything in order to hold it well. You don't prepare when the opportunity comes. You prepare so that when it comes, you don't miss it. Preparation is how faith gets dressed for the promise. It's not enough to have a vision. Many people have vision, many people have dreams, but if you lack discipline, your vision will stay trapped in your imagination. Discipline is what turns vision into manifestation. Vision without discipline is like having a destination but refusing to walk. It's like owning seeds and never planting them. You can have the clearest, most powerful, God-given vision for your life, but without structure, habits, and self-control, it will never come to pass. Let's get this straight. Faith doesn't just believe in the future, it submits to the process. And discipline is the bridge between what you see and what you'll experience. Now let me take you to an example we can all relate to. Athletes. A world-class sprinter may have a vision of winning the Olympic gold medal, but it's not the vision that gets them to the podium. It's the discipline. The early mornings, the training when no one's watching, the meals they say no to, the parties they skip, the hours of pain, sweat, and repetition. What you see on race day is only the result of 1,000 disciplined days you never saw. You might be praying for God to open a door, but are you waking up on time? Are you managing your time with excellence? Are you saying no to distractions? Are you setting boundaries so you can protect what you're building? Let me share a story that hits home. There was a man with a brilliant idea to start a company that helped single mothers learn tech skills. He had the business plan, he had investors interested, but he lacked one thing: discipline. He would start working on the project and get distracted. He promised to follow up with meetings and forget. He spent more time scrolling than studying, and in the end, the opportunity passed him by. On the flip side, there was a young woman who had a vision to write a book to empower teenage girls. She didn't wait for motivation to strike. She made a decision to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and write just one page. Rain or shine, inspired or not, just one page. A year later, she finished the manuscript. Today, that book is being used in mentoring programs across the country. The difference wasn't vision, it was discipline. Let me say something challenging. The lack of discipline is not a time issue. It's a focus issue. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you're not mastering your time. It's not that the dream is too big. It's that your daily habits are too small. The enemy of your future is not always sin. It's often distraction. It's inconsistency. It's comfort. Comfort is the silent killer of calling. Discipline makes you do what's uncomfortable now so you can live what's uncommon later. Scripture says in Proverbs 25:28, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. That means if you don't have discipline, you are defenseless, vulnerable, easily broken, easily derailed. But when you are disciplined, you are dangerous, you are focused, you are consistent, and God can trust you with more. Let's bring it home. Faith demands discipline. You can't believe for big things and live with lazy habits. You can't pray for a global platform and refuse to work in private. You can't ask God for success and live without structure. God blesses consistency. God breathes on preparation, and He multiplies what you manage well. So ask yourself, are my habits helping my faith or hurting it? Are my daily routines aligned with the vision I say I believe in? Because until your life starts moving in the direction of your vision, your faith is still on pause. Discipline is how faith becomes a lifestyle. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's not always fun, but it is powerful, and it is the only way to carry what God has shown you. Faith has a plan, and discipline is how you work that plan. One day at a time. You can have vision, you can have faith, you can even have a well-structured plan. But if you don't move, if you don't act, then nothing changes. Faith without works is dead, and a plan without execution is just a fantasy. This is where so many people get stuck. They believe in God's promises. They've written down their goals. They've got the vision board, the journal, the prayer closet. But when it's time to step out, they freeze. Fear paralyzes them. Doubt whispers, what if it doesn't work? And procrastination dresses itself up as perfectionism. But listen to me, God will not do what you refuse to move toward. The miracle is waiting on the motion. Let's go to the book of Joshua. God told Joshua that the city of Jericho was already delivered into his hands. That was the promise. That was the word. But here's the catch. They had to get the people organized. Walk around the city, blow the trumpets, shout. That wall didn't fall because they believed alone. It fell because they acted on their belief. The wall only falls for the people who walk. You might be standing at the edge of your promise right now. You've planned, you've prayed, you've prepared, but now comes the most important part. You must move. Faith is not afraid to start small. Faith doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. Faith says, even if I'm not 100% ready, I'm still going. Think about Peter. When he saw Jesus walking on the water, he said, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come. And Jesus simply said, come. Peter didn't wait to see how the wind would shift or how deep the water was. He stepped out of the boat. Was it risky? Yes. Did he start to sink? Yes. But he walked further than anyone else because he acted. The other disciples stayed in the boat, safe, comfortable, but also stuck. Some of us are waiting for a voice, a sign, a confirmation. But the truth is, we already know what we need to do. We just need to start. Here's a true story to inspire you. A young man had a plan to launch a nonprofit for at-risk youth. He kept saying, I'm waiting for the right time. He spent 2 years refining his strategy, tweaking the logo, redesigning the website, but never launched. One day someone challenged him. Your plan isn't missing perfection, it's missing courage. That struck a chord. The next week, he launched with just one student and a borrowed classroom. 5 years later, he's impacted over 10,000 lives. The shift happened when he moved. Don't let the fear of imperfection keep you from walking in obedience. God doesn't require perfection, He requires participation. Heaven doesn't reward intentions, it responds to action. You'll never know what God can do through you until you start. Write the book, start the business, launch the ministry, record the video, apply for the grant, make the call, take the class, post the idea. Whatever step is in front of you, take it. Let me leave you with a picture. Imagine planting a seed and never watering it because you're afraid it won't grow. That's what having a plan without action looks like. The seed has potential, the soil is ready, but your fear starves it. Growth only happens when you act. So today I challenge you. Don't let your plan die in your notebook. Don't let your faith get stuck in theory. Don't let your calling gather dust in delay. Do something. Because every great move of God began with someone who had the courage to take the first step. Faith demands a plan, but faith also demands that you walk the plan out. The future you're praying for is already waiting, not for more prayer, not for another confirmation, but for your action. Because real faith doesn't just believe it can happen, it shows up like it's already done. My friends, we've walked through a truth that challenges the comfort zone of religion and calls us into the boldness of kingdom living. Faith demands a plan, not because God needs help, but because he desires partnership. He wants to work with you, not just for you. You've heard it. Faith must be specific. Faith demands structure. Faith thrives on preparation. Faith needs motion. It requires order. It embraces discipline, and most importantly, it demands action. You've been given vision, not to just feel inspired, but to become a builder. You've been anointed not to sit on potential, but to activate purpose. The time of waiting for perfect conditions is over. The season of delayed disguised as prayer is done. God is saying, I've already placed the answer inside of you, but I'm waiting for your movement. Let this be your moment. Let this be your shift. Not another conference, not another notebook full of ideas, but a line in the sand. A decision that today I will not just believe, I will build. I will plan. I will move. I will act. Your future is not waiting for another word. It's waiting for your obedience, for your discipline, for your steps. Faith has always been about walking step by step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. It's about saying, God, I trust you enough to prepare, to organize, and to act like it's already done. So write the plan, count the cost, start small, stay faithful, keep showing up, because the faith that honors God is the faith that moves forward with a plan. And remember, when your plan is rooted in God's purpose, there is no force in hell that can stop what he's about to release through you. Now go, plan boldly, move fearlessly, and let your faith build the future God already showed you.